Hello, everyone, and welcome to Animosity Smite. We got a treat for you here today. Semifinals of the Jotunheim division, where the realm is frosty, but the plays are oh so hot. We've got Kappa Corporation stepping up to Firelink 5. I'm Dilo, joined here by Z-Tan. Z, how we feeling?
We are feeling fantastic, Dilo. I love playoffs. I love semifinal sets. I love finals. I love playoffs. Great time, usually great competition. Should be a good couple of games.
We have an interesting kind of setup here between the Kappa Corporation, who's stepping off their pedestal. They've gotten a bye as the second seed of this division. We're not forced to battle their way into this spot, but nonetheless are now forced to take to the battlefield, whereas Firelink 5 had to claw their way up to this spot. What do you think that does for the mentals of each of these teams stacking up against each other when you've had to either get kind of the easy path through, that flash pass, versus the hard way up?
Well, honestly, in games like that, I tend to side with the lower seeds. When you're a lower seed going into a tournament, you have immediate games you have to play against usually higher seeds than you and when you make it past those couple of games, right? Like the team synergy's there, the mentals are up, morale's good. And when you've had a bye going into it, you've just kind of been sitting around usually. So yeah, my vote tends to go with the underdog.
Always love to see a good Cinderella story, so certainly would be excited to have Firelink 5 step up and show their stuff at the scene. But that being said, Kappa Corporation, the dominating overlords of the division so far, are in that position for a reason. Hopefully have been doing their homework, looking at their game tape to make sure they haven't gotten rusty as they wait for this game to approach. Big stakes on the line. Person who loses drops down for that third place game spot, whereas whoever gets the victory is able to move on for a chance at finals dominance. So big things coming up here, Z10, big things. As we get into these P's and B's coming up on the horizon, what are we looking for? What are we expecting? What are we maybe going to see as some fringe options?
Well, I'm not going to bother going through the carries and the mids because, like, let's get real. We've done a lot of casts recently together. That hasn't changed in 3 months. Hachi, Toth, Cuckoo, on her, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we got it. Solo is where I'm looking at here. Been seeing a lot of Guardians played out of it. Been seeing the Kuzenbo, the Cthulhu, seen a couple of Cerberuses here and there. It even saw a Sobek in a ranked game recently. And Odin. Yet another one. Although I've been seeing him a little in support too. The change to him with the 3 made a pretty big impact, and I feel like it's mainly because he's so good into the meta gods right now. Odin fries Cuckoo, Hachi, Toth, very solid.
But not going to be seeing any of those gods you mentioned, so sorry. Your analysis has been negated by this ban list. We have Thor, Odin, Thoth, Hachi, X-Ball, and Kukulkan off the map. You know what that leaves open, though? Some solo lane threats. Cthulhu joins the battle.
Yeah, Cthulhu's great, doing really, really well right now. One of those gods that's able to kind of abuse that conduit gem well. Also, the change to the way that he uses his mire, being able to move around with it now. Cthulhu's in a really good spot.
But to match
And
a
we're
bit of tank
taking the
on
Ganesh?
opposing side, enough points their side. What do you think the logic is behind that?
Ganesh is just a very solid support. He's not at the top of the list, and he's nowhere near the bottom of it. Spectacular kit, great peel, great ult. It's a solid god, and there's very little counterplay to it, so it's very safe to take in your top couple of spots. And the Agni coming in behind that. Big fan of the Agni.
Yeah, we've seen it quite a bit. Another god that was affected by that recent patch coming in, being able to get a bit more mobility in a similar way to the Cthulhu off that Rain of Fire. Very useful, very evasive, very potent at long range, and with a good Ganesh to hopefully stymie some of the aggressors who are trying to dive your back line.
Oh
Speaking
boy.
of, there's gonna be one of those aggressors, the Kuzenbo.
Oh.
Certainly welcome sight, especially when it's on the Kappa Corporation. A fitting member to be put at the CEO spot.
All right, look, I've played carry and mid for most of my Smite career, and there is nothing of a welcoming sight about seeing Cthulhu and Kuzenbo. Uh, that's that is a chonky front line that is going on here for Kappa Corporation. Oh man, and Charybdis to back it up.
It's a lot of damage, it's a lot of safety, it's a lot of potential aggression that could also be used to retreat. That Sumo Slam, quick dash, gets you out of a long amount of pain. Also, you just have the thorns on your back automatically packed in the kit. But to reverse some of that pressure, you have the Sobek get you a bit more positional advantage. But I'm not sure. Is that enough? You're just going to be, if you pluck the wrong target, it could just spell your own doom. Put the Cthulhu in the midst of your team. Good. I want to be there so I can just rush and descend everyone into madness. Put the Kuzenbo in the midst of the team so I can send you all to your watery graves. Put the Charybdis in the midst so she can just whirlpool form and never be punished. It might be tough pickings here for the Sobek.
Yeah, Firelink are banning this Wheelish first, and that tells me that they may be looking to play something to the tune of like on her out of this carry role. Wait a minute. I've been trolled.
You haven't
I have been trolled. Okay.
Apologies,
right.
friend, but returning to normalcy here.
It'd
Tell me
be
what
like
we're
that
looking at.
sometimes. So Firelink are banning the Morrigan. Morrigan has traditionally been a god that you can play alongside of Cthulhu, and have two Cthulhus on the field, and that's just obscene. Honestly, pretty good shot to ban it out here. I don't think Morrigan is really that great out of the mid lane at the moment versus some of the other picks, but having two Cthulhus running at you is just not something that anyone ever wants to see.
And they're going to make sure to immediately stymie that option. Definitely respect it when you have such potent threats, able to just instantly make two large gods of destruction and dreams. You don't want to see that on their side. Hoonbot's going to try to counter some of that potential dive pressure afforded by these aggressive frontliners. How are our thoughts on how that's going to succeed against the opposing members of the Kappa Corporation?
Well, you've got Ganesh, you've got Agni, and you've got Sobek already. The bats on the backside of this, I really, really like it. That Fear No Evil, going down around these Dharmic pillars, around some of these plucks, Agni raining bombs on from the back. They have a fairly impressive counter engage here, which what Kappa Corp seem to be drafting for is the engage. So Firelink, on the other hand, now don't get me wrong, you can use that Fear No Evil and the Dharmic Pillars aggressively, but what Kappa Corp look to be trying to do with this all-out dive, Firelink's got a pretty solid composition to snuff it out.
The only thing I worry about is it's good to be playing into a comp that makes sure to counter the goal of the Kappa Corp. But the question is, when you adopt a counter and reactionary composition, are you immediately preparing yourself to be on the back foot? How do you make sure then with this comp to still initiate, to still make sure you're being proactive? Naja, certainly another dive-oriented god, and Eset going to round that out just for a bit of extra protection and to get a bit amount of secure on top.
Oh, it's not a bit of secure. That is the best secure in the game. You hear a lot about 9 wins and Final Judgment and I'm a Monster. That circle of protection will out-secure every one of them. Great secure. The god itself, still very good, in a really good spot. I don't mind it. I love to see the ESET here. It's bringing some throwbacks to like Mace to the Face from season 3, man.
I've seen quite a bit of it being played here in recent sets across many a league. So it's something that I imagine that both members of Kappa Corp are familiar playing with on their side, as well as Firelink potentially being used to seeing that on the opposition. But I think you have yourself a great combination in the form of an easy Windfire Wheels into a dropped, charged up circle of protection. It's just bread and butter. Simple as that. Put that member of the team who you've sent to the sky on a roll and send him right down to the fountain. But now, to round out the comp of Firelink 5, On Her joins the squad.
Well, you know, I may have been trolled, but I still ended up being right. Firelink did look towards this on her.
Indeed.
On her, just a very good. He's a very solid ADC. He and Hachi have been sitting, you know, around or near the top for forever now, and he's still there. He's still there for a reason.
Yeah, he's just been a fantastic sight to see. But against the Charybdis, the question is, how does that lane up? Because I jump on you, you enter whirlpool form, you come back and throw some kunai at me. Seems like it might just be a chicken game of who decides to use their escape/engage first. How does that matchup look in each of these dual lanes?
Well, assuming that Kuzenbo is going support next to the Charybdis, Kappa Corporation should fairly hard out clear here. Kappa Corp should have the pressure. Charybdis clear is excellent. You know, Ganesh and on her, it's not the worst clear in the world, but it's not a Charybdis with a Kappa being thrown behind it.
Nope. I mean, he's also imbued with the power of being the team mascot. You do get a bonus for that. That is canon. And it's going to be a bit of an issue. Despite having that clear obstacles, does not mean that Ganesh is quite that good at actually getting the job done. Question is then, so if we already have a small disadvantage that we have to circumvent on the side of Firelink 5, in our other lanes, are there at least matchups that present a bit more favorably? How's the Sobek look versus Cthulhu?
Well, you know, the solo Beck is a pick that you've traditionally in the past played so that you do not die, you don't get picked off. It's not really something you're going to win lane with. What I'm seeing here, you know, Kappa Corporation seems to be pretty late game oriented. You've got this Charybdis, you've got this ESET. Now, the one area I feel like Firelink might be able to kind of get something here early is in this mid lane. Agni has a very solid early game, decent mid game, obviously a great late game, but I think Firelink might need to look to play out of this mid lane here.
Hopefully going to see that come to fruition here. Game is on the horizon. These members are all fired up, and I don't just mean that for the pun. Kill me. But that being said, we'll be out in just a moment. Game 1 coming at you in just a sec. And we're back. Welcome back, everyone, to Animosity Smite. Game 1 here, the semifinals in this Jotunheim division between Kappa Corporation and the Firelink 5. I'm Dilo, once again joined here by Zetan, and we're looking forward to it. We got quite the mollywhopper on the horizon here. Just early game for early game, Zetan. What are we expecting to see? What's the dynamic going to be?
Well, like I was saying in the picks and bans, I am looking at Charybdis and Kuzenbo to pretty hard out clear and out pressure here in this duo lane, especially with the fact that Charybdis has picked up this mannequins. She should have the pressure here. Solo, I'm looking for Cthulhu to pretty well have a good time in that lane. You know, Sobek is not exactly the world lane clear champion. Now the mid lane, this is where I'm kind of putting my eyes towards. I really want to see how this is going to play out. Agni into ESET. Well, here we go.
Is playing for some good damage right now. Agni are already underneath that pressure, and you have the Dispel Magic, which is going to be really useful for any potential obvious engages here from Firelink 5. You have eventually those rotations from the Sobek. Could be a bit of trouble if you decide to charge prey, but you charge right into a big old silence.
Yeah, that silence can be a problem. ESET has a very, very strong kit. The only thing she really lacks is like CC immunity and a real dash. Now, she can use the one to kind of get around, but it's not an outright dash. It's just more of a stem, so to speak.
A fair point. So maybe going to see the members of Kappa Corporation having to play a bit of defend the castle, and the members of Firelink 5 have to decide if we do put our foot forward, it's going to be to step on this chicken. But the bigger chicken here, it's got wings, it's chicken, is this Cthulhu, who's right now stuffing the charge prey, but Humon's just kind of waiting in disapproval or approval of the Sobek, not quite sure which, just watching his son go forth. Please hit this big demon monster, but nothing quite coming of it just yet.
No, it does look like he is kind of DC'd here. Uh, you had to wonder, right? Like you had to wonder because he was just kind of sitting there staring at the wall. Um, maybe at some points you try a fake, but it does appear my man actually went out there.
It
He's
happens.
over here trying to help Sobek secure some of these neutrals, and Sobek definitely needs it.
It's always a question when you have that innate disadvantage in a lane matchup. Do you decide to abandon that lane, recognize all is lost, and decide to wait for the laning phase to end before that god can bring its pressure? Or do you decide to try to alleviate some of that burden by dedicating that oh so important jungle time on over? In the case of Firelink 5, where do we think our Hoonbot should be dedicating that attention most?
Well, with how hard Sobek gets out cleared in the matchup, I don't hate the decision to go over and kind of help him secure some of the neutrals, make sure he's getting his farm. I don't mind that decision at all. Sobek can play from behind. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's very nice not to have to.
So hopefully going to see a bit of that monkey's attention be favored to that alligator, some animal solidarity. But speaking of animals, the elephant right now getting bullied a bit by the turtle. But at the very least, we'll be able to retreat for now. In fact, this is really just a whole petting zoo. That's what we got here on the side of Kappa Corporation. But on the side of Firelink 5. But at the very least for now, doing okay, keeping afloat. 3 minutes into this game, 0-0 remains a scoreboard. Firelink 5 sporting a small but negligible disadvantage in terms of gold, but at the very least, remaining even in terms of the EXP. Now level 5 is beginning to hit, and this is, of course, where things get interesting. Hoonbots has got that Fear No Evil in pocket. Where will it be dedicated first? That's the oh so important question.
It is a very important question, and the answer to it realistically, the Fear No Evil right now, as it stands, unless something else is able to pull beads, is just going to have to be used to burn beads. Because Eset, Naja, Charybdis, they've all got beads up.
Good point.
So the best you can really do at this point is, burn a beads, get it on cooldown, back, get your Jotuns, and, look to hit it again before those beads come back up.
Not for nothing, also, but you have 3 long channel CC immune ults on the side of Kappa Corporation that, if you decide to predictively, looking to be in a bit of trouble as a Sobek underneath the pressure from this Mire, but if you look to preemptively hit that ultimate, whether it be the Cthulhu, whether it be that Kuzumbo, nice block there. Hey, some good damage, but the knockout immunity going to get him out of that space with the quickness. It could be troublesome here for the Hoonbots to actually make sure that Fear No Evil is hitting targets like it should be.
Yeah, the Bats has his Fear No Evil. Now, Ganesh, Dharmic Pillars, that's not really going to burn the beads. You might be able to burn one with a On Her Impale or an Agni Stun, but realistically, it's going to kind of fall down to like Sobek and Hunbats to get and burn these beads. Hunbats is going for this Jotuns first off, and oh, we could have a fight over this blue buff.
We do not want to let this one go. In fact, we're going to force it out. Could be a good chance for Fear No Evil. Going to use a Sacred Monkey to flip on over to my friend. Somersault Slam for just a bit of extra damage and panache. Firelink 5 with a nice 4-man rotation. A lot of resources expended, but the resources were defended. That blue buff goes squarely in the pocket of the Chaos side.
Yeah, and honestly, I like to see that rotation. I really do. It was a preemptive rotation. Uh, I, Sobek needs that blue. He does get mana back from going into that lurking in the water, but obviously you don't want to have to expend that every time you need some mana. You know, he's going into this Kasari. I'm assuming this is probably going to be maybe a Void Amaru or a Genji's. Uh, he'll have MP5 inherently, but good on them to secure that blue buff and not let that XP and gold head over towards Kappa.
Very true. Now, 7 minutes on in, the gold, talking about it again, Kappa Corporation, despite not grabbing themselves that nice blue buff, 1,000 ahead, starting to make some strides forward. We talked a bit about the pressure that the dual lane affords on the side of Kappa Corporation when both members are present, but now Team Mascot has left for bigger and better things. He's rising up in the world and in the company. The question is, what's going to happen now with the on her set up? Oh, what's going to happen now with my friend Naja in trouble there? Has to use Windfire Wheels, but here comes the monkey. Throws his monkey into a pillar. Not quite how you want to see it used. The Watery Grave not going to send the Agni quite down to it just yet, despite the super effective typing. Spirit Ball going to miss a quick bit to the right. Rain of Fire not on the mark, but there goes the E-set, gonna make sure to get that first blood on its Dovi. Beads having to be expended there for that sumo slam, but the Spirit Ball to follow it right up. This Wing Gust could be it if you just land one more. Gale with the double kill on a King Kerbis. Excellent work here in the Sash. Might secure yourself a nice third one. Ooh, Spirit Ball just a bit too slow, my friend. Don't stick around. The ring's gonna hit you for uber amounts of damage. No sense in losing your life for just a few more harpies, my friend. Make it 2-0, 8 minutes in for Kappa.
Yeah, no, get out of there, Hunbats. You've just watched ESET kill 2 people with very low health. That was not the place to be sniffing around. Great fight there. Oh my.
Underneath the pressure, it's going to have to be the Cthulhu who actually has to ult defensively. Not a sight you quite see all the time, but manages to menacingly swipe at the ground a few times before retreating back to base. That's a good boon and a good omen for this Sobek, managing to stay in the game, even levels, potentially thanks to that help from the Hoon bots.
Yeah, both Sobek and Cthulhu have this Genji's Guard online now, and it looks like we're making another trip for this Sobek's blue buff. Which, at this point, with him having the Genji's Guard online, you know, really all you're going to do there is deny him XP, which Bats is now dragging under tower.
Quite literally dragged it behind the barn to be shot.
Hey, you know, better than them getting it.
Exactly.
Purpose
Oh,
maybe
an
a
elephant in trade,
little out
having
of
to back
position
away
here.
with that home. Indeed, and now his position is in the sky, back sent to the ground. There's that bread and butter combo I've been talking about, and the elephant's been made into breakfast. 3 kills now, all in the pocket of this E-set. The funeral rites are indeed being had.
Yeah, funerals. They're starting to have the wake now. This is getting a little wild out of this mid lane. You know, ESET opting for this conduit gem Chronos start. Might be looking at a Deso here, maybe Divine. This ESET is off to a fantastic start so far, and honestly, I love to see it. I love to see a god that hasn't really seen play in a while kind of come in and be able to do well. I love it.
It's on a really great comp for it. You have a lot of positional advantage that these team members bring, whether it be if someone dives your E-set, I can just drop the protection on me, or the protection can come in the form of Naja just boosting you into the air for a bit. Take a little bit of a timeout, think about what you've done. Boombots might have to do the same here underneath the pressure from the Cthulhu, but Sobek in to assist, plucks him off it. Some good peel, but right now, Firelink 5 need to start thinking less about defense and more about some damage. Indeed, Onher's got that on the mind, but with that safety that comes from the Whirlpool form, Charybdis is going to be just fine and still a level ahead.
Yeah, the thing about that circle of protection, it's so hard to fight into. You know, when you're talking about these objectives, the beacon, any of these kind of areas where that's going to be used as secure or zoning, you know, you can go in and you can try and steal it, But if you're caught in that at full charge post 15 minutes, you're a dead man.
Indeed, and right now, Kuzma looking around the back to try to find another dead man. Look at how easily that beads was just burned. Just almost as an afterthought. We saw Kuzma wandering Leroy's sides. I feel like burning Agni's beads does it with ease, and that's what we want to see from the Firelink 5, who have such a great amounts of CC, but just haven't seemed to got them off in tandem in a way that's going to work for them. And look at him doing the exact same thing, but this time, no beads on the mark, having to expend that dash. At the very least, Agni had his head on a swivel being used to that treatment, but if it continues to go this way, it's not a good look for the Firelink 5. What's their means of getting some kills on the board?
Well, Kappa Corporation are playing this very aggressively, and as well they should. It's working. They're burning beads pretty much whenever they feel like it. They've got this Naja to combo things off of. What I think Firelink are going to need to do, I talked about during the picks and bans that Firelink have an excellent counter engage. And
Yes.
we're not really going to see that in these 1v1s, 2v2s, what have you. I feel like Firelink are going to have to kind of mount a defense towards these team fights. And there's Fear No
Right
Evil.
now, is this nudge underneath the pressure from the Fear No Evil, but only gets damaged. The staff slam afterward was a bit off the mark as well. It's unfortunate to see as really the Najah feels at liberty to just continue what they were doing, farming up in the lane, joins forces with this Charybdis. Not how you want to see that ult use, Z.
No, it's not optimal. You definitely, if there was anything there to follow it up, you had the potential to get a kill on the board for you. Naja didn't have beads for another 50 seconds at the point that was, going on. It was a bit of a missed opportunity. Definitely not what you want, but these things happen.
They do happen. 13 minutes in, still only 3-0. Plenty of game left to play with. The gold lead is about 2,500 right now. Cthulhu and Sobek just kind of swiping at each other just to pad their stats. They're respectively recognizing, hey, we need to put numbers on the board. They're just going to kind of maybe do a bit of, damage fraud. Oh, maybe it's not fraud. Maybe this is now all business. Cthulhu putting on some decent numbers here. And we're playing in the pillars. This could be a bit of a tough spot here for my friend the Charybdis. Look at that damage. The Whirlpool form, though. That's what you got to bait out first. The Desert Sphere going to be completely immune, and the Maw hungers for Lion, and it's going to bite just the tippy cut of the tail before the Disperse manages to get the On Her the hell out of there. So ults expended on each side, neither quite landing their mark, but at the very least, On Her making a pretty good showing for damage.
Yeah, On Her has the advantage in a 1v1 against, almost any hunter in the game. He's so good at that 1v1, and he's using it to his full advantage. Sobek is getting a little low there, but he's gonna back. He's gonna get out of there. You're not playing this Sobek. What's that?
Yeah, with
Sorry.
the Sobek, I'm curious to how he slots in here, because you mentioned the fact that it's the reactionary counterpunch on Firelink 5, and I do agree that their comp is mostly slated for that exact idea. But Sobek, when I think of a Sobek, I don't think of counterpunch. I think of engaging. I think of taking that first step forward, that first charge forward. Where does he slot into these larger engagements that we're waiting to see from Firelink 5 in the future?
Well, obviously with a Sobek, you have that pluck, and you have the capability to engage with it, to pull a beads, to pull somebody to your team that didn't have beads. That option is there, but in the counter engage, hang on, here we go.
This is looking rough. You do have some decent damage, but recognizing the cavalry's coming on her and not quite fearing anything, but stayed back a bit too far to maybe capitalize. That Whirlpool form is so safe. You need to bait out so much from this Charybdis to be able to actually make it pay for anything. But there might be a solution. You have the Fear No Evil, some staff slam down, but Kayo's doing the real damage. It's Dovey, it's dead. Unfortunately, a fourth kill goes in the pocket of this E-set.
Another one bites the dust. And
Might be
well,
some more on the
again,
chopping block, my friend. That basic will indeed eat you up if you're standing in a group. Yokai is going to be able to take down Keekjeek, and now there might be more of them. All hungers, but it's only going to bite some air. Not quite the most filling breakfast there. Might try to look for some monkey instead. Indeed, the Naja Sash will secure the double there for Yokai. The Rubber Man, unfortunately, wasn't able to bounce back from that one. 6 kills here for Kappa.
this is a rough start. We got a gold lead, 3,600 headed for this Kappa Corporation, almost 6,000 in the XP. This is not an optimal position to be in. You asked before that started how Sobek slots into that kind of counterpunch play, and I mentioned that obviously the pluck, it can be used aggressively, it can be used offensively, but something else that Sobek offers is displacement. He's got that tail whip. He's got the slow on the lurking in the water, not to mention the damage coming out of it, because that lurking in the water hurts. Especially when it's got a few levels in it. You've got this conduit gem, you've got mystical mail. That thing is going to be hurting. Sobek offers displacement. And that's where I kind of feel that he fits into this, is disrupting that dive and then countering.
Oh my god, look at how Elephant was literally put in timeout. Says, nope, you're not here to play in the Stygian Beacon. Mom says it's my turn. Get out of here. Cthulhu's joined the battle, though. Big damage being put on its Dovey, and more damage onto the Elephant. Put in timeout permanently, thanks to Yokai. That bread and butter combo doing wonders here for the Kappa Corporation. Make it 7. They're looking to get their stonks up. Naja rotating on over just to maybe catch a lion, put you in the litter box real quick, in the hearse. More funeral rites for your name, but instead we're just going to try to put this Gold Fury away. Firelink 5 do have members up to potentially stand up against it. A big impale, but not big damage. Kappa Corporation grab themselves the first objective 17 minutes in.
17 minutes, 7-0, 6,000 gold, and another one's going to Gaio. Rubber Man is gone. Make that 8 kills on the board, and what is that? 6 in the pocket of ESET, 5 in the pocket of ESET. This is kind of going downhill, just a little bit. They probably going to get this pyro. Agni's going to give it a go, though.
You don't have the most damaging ability in the game. You do have the Circle of Protection, though. Kappa Corporation secured that one with ease. Sobek's lurking in the waters, but I don't know, man. This is going to be a bit of a rough start for this fight, and Kuzumbo tries to step on up. He's in a bit of trouble, but do have the Windfire wheels to put Ganesh back up in the sky where he belongs. A great sash to keep him right underneath the tower. KO finds the 6th kill of 9. Yokai solos Geek. What happened there? We'll never know, I guess. But Charybdis is popping off as well. Coast to coast, Kappa Corporation seeing monopolization of the lanes.
Not much else I can add to that, Dilo. 8K now, 10-0. A lot of items being bought. You've now got a significant gold lead. This is the uh-oh territory for Firelink 5. They are going to have to find a way to get something. This comp that you've got going on here, you've got this Hunbats, this Sobek. Maybe they need to look to play more aggressively, or should have looked to play a little more aggressively. That is no longer really an option at this kind of deficit. So they're going to have to do the best they can, secure what farm they can, and hope to hold out to 20. Because at this point, Kappa Corporation are pretty much going to walk around and take what they please.
The bullies are going to continue to bully. I mean, we were talking about how we love to see a nice comeback here from the 6th seed, but right now, the 2nd seed, proving they owned that spot for a reason, staying up on top. 20 minutes in, the gold lead, like you mentioned, items are being bought. These people know how to run a business. They treat this business like a family, dang it. And right now, this family is absolutely destroying this feud. Firelink 5, what's their method getting back into these fights? Where are we not seeing enough fire from them?
Currently, they're after this Charybdis, and there are 4 of them there.
They got a fire in their bellies for this, but will they have enough damage? Look at the Maw Hungers, able to escape so much damage. No way he gets on out of this safely. The elephant's gonna charge prey. It's Dovey, thank God, puts one for the board, but they've expended so much for one kill. The tier 1 will finally fall, but it's a full-scale retreat, and Cthulhu has arrived. The terror in living flesh. Thoris takes down Keek, and Cthulhu's in the back to finish off. It's Dovey. Revenge for your fallen comrades. There's another kill for the board. The elephant's been ivory hunted. It's animal on animal violence. Gleroy gets that one. Sobek gets the consolation prize for another tier 1, this time on the solo side. But what does that stand up to when it comes to a 13-1 kill board?
Well, what it comes up to is that you did decrease the gold lead a bit. It wasn't a lot, but
it's something.
You brought it back about 1,000, and that's it's a win here.
It's
on the other hand, they're gonna get this fire.
Will they? Hold on, we got people stepping up to bat. You have the Hoombots, but he instantly realizes, I actually walked down the wrong alley. My house is this way. Gonna have to retreat back, but lurking underneath the waters, you have Sobek. Circle of Protection's been dropped, so is the Fear No Evil, but beads to match it. Who will end up destroying it? Firelink 5, steal it away, but steal the life of the Rubberman in tow. Eset flapping their wings with desperation, but put in timeout. Sobek can't do much about it. Drop back in the midst of friendly pillars, but those aren't going to do big numbers. Cthulhu certainly will, though. On the offensive, the Myers drop, but only at his own feet. Whirlpool form for added safety. Firelink 5. Standing 4 strong with Fire Giant around their belts, but will it be enough in face of Kappa Corporation's coordination? You have the On Her leaping on in, trying to disperse the opposition. Sobek's charge prey will not work. Sumo Slam to retaliate, but not going to find anything either. Kappa Corporation deciding to lick their wounds, spend their gold in tow. Firelink 5 come away with this one in spades.
That is as big of a win as you could ask for in this scenario. Well, we might not be done. Cthulhu's kind of getting hit here.
Decent impale, gonna decent damage there. Meyer dropped back down on top of the Ganesh's head, but the Stygian Beacon might just be an inevitability here for the Kappa Corporation. You may have Fire Giant, but we've been dominating all game. Don't you forget it. Firelink 5 sent packing, but wrapping on this left side. Watch for the ambush. Naja's on the prowl. Nice tail whip to send him packing. Get back in your place, boy. But Order do capture that beacon, and now look for bigger targets. They don't care that you have FG. We've been on top for a reason, my friends. Sent back to the sky. There goes Sobek. Not too much damage, but dropped into the midst of many. Cthulhu bursts out in his final form. But in the meantime, you have Cryptus in big trouble. Keek gonna take down Gayo. It's a big shutdown. Loshak brings Low down to the Rubberman once again. He's in the back line by himself, though. Has to maybe get some escape, get some distance, my friend, because the rest are on the prowl. Beads as well as the rushing terror just to get a bit more space. But who's on the prowl? It's Sobek. One charge prey might just change this fight. It's successful. The disperse to match. You have 4 members surrounding you. Can you get the space? The raining fire will not actually secure it. You have members trying to back you up. A Kuzenbo's just watching. A beautiful watery grave to stall their progress. Don't turn around, my friend. What are you, in a horror movie? It's Dovey gonna finish him off and make him pay. But Yokai gonna put it right back on It's Dovey for revenge. It's an absolute slaughter here by the beacon, and it's not even up, my friends. What is it all for? Yokai takes down Keek for another kill in the bucket of Kappa Corporation. Ganesh could be in trouble, has to retreat on back. At this point, Firelink 5 need to just take what they've gotten and go, but it seems that Kappa Corporation are not looking for this one to be let go so easily. A killing spree there for Yokai on the King Kerbis. Finally, Sobek decides, enough bloodshed for one day. Can't we all be friends?
Blood begets blood begets blood.
That's the lesson for today.
Firelink got a brilliant Fire Giant steal, and on the back end of it, going into the start of that jungle fight, they even got, On Her got a kill in the pocket. It was looking so good, and then they overcommitted on that Cthulhu. I definitely understand the urge. I understand the want. That guy is going to get out with 10 health. I will not let this happen. But they paid for it.
Yep, and now Kappa Corporation is getting paid instead. Another Fury to their name. 25 minutes into this game, it reads 18-3. Unfortunate numbers to see if you're a Firelink 5 fan, but what's even more unfortunate is that 8,000 gold lead. It's seen its ups, it's seen its downs, but overall Kappa still standing strong. Firelink 5, what are their strengths that they need to play to for hope back into this one, Z?
Well, this on her is performing very well. He's hitting very hard. You could see it when he impaled that Cthulhu into the wall. Just a couple of autos brought this Cthulhu down fairly low. Agni's getting to the point of doing some damage here. You just need to hold out a little longer.
And unfortunately, Thrace able to do that thanks to some nicely timed beads, going to be able to immune most of that Fear No Evil CC and grab themselves that nice tier 2 tower. Now the damage being put here onto the elephant. Those pillars won't save you if there's Cthulhu on the rise. Gonna dodge the Spirit Bomb. Nicely done, but can you dodge the Sumo Slam? Dear God, the drift on this turtle is incredible. Thor's gonna finish off King Kerbis, brought low once again. Kappa Corporation seemingly able to rotate with impunity. Honor's gonna find that out the hard way, pushed back in the midst of his own tower, surrounded on all sides, and taken out. No, one leap away, but is actually sniped nonetheless by his opposition. Yokai barely able to get that kill. I thought Honor was safe, but you're never safe against the Kappa Corporation. They're coming for it all.
I'm 90% sure that that mannequin sprock killed him on the other side of that speed, and that is so sad. Unfortunate.
Tragedy.
Absolute travesty. Only a couple of times in my life have I seen mannequins legitimately secure a kill. That was something to see.
As an AMC secondary player, I know better than anyone that a small dot can pay big dividends. And meanwhile, in the back, paying big dividends is this Kuzenbo. Going to try to zone off every member of Firelink 5 and succeed as another FG goes down. But this time, in the pockets of what they would claim are the rightful owners, Kappa Corporation back on top. 28 minutes in, 20-3.
We're here. The gold lead's at 11,000. And now, the good news for Firelink 5 here, while there has not been a massive amount of good news for Firelink 5 since that Fire Giant steal, the good news is that we are approaching level 20 across the board. Starters are getting bought, so as we approach this point in the game, the gold lead becomes negligible. Now, of course, you do end up with red pots, big pots in pocket where one team might not have them. But at the level 20 and full build, both teams are definitely capable of dealing damage. And we're at almost 29 minutes now. And once we go over these builds, you can see pretty clearly Kappa has some builds totally complete, builds close to complete, and almost as a whole, Firelink are missing one item. Now, they've got to hold out. They do have a decent siege defense here. You've got these Dharmic Pillars, you've got Agni, you've got the Fear No Evil, you've got the Sobek, like, you have displacement. Now, I don't think you defend this T2. Get out of there, Kerbis. Okay.
Yeah, please, learn from your mistakes.
Well, he sniffed at it for a second. That thing was way too low to even consider defending, but they're gonna have to defend this.
Indeed, definitely have to make sure we're sticking by our birds here. But the issue with the abilities and the positionality that Kappa Corporation has is that not only do they just naturally, ooh, a good charge spray, hold that thought, brought in the pillars, making sure that they can stay in place, but there's the Fear No Evil to match. Cthulhu able to get out with just a sliver once again, and you know Firelink 5 don't like that response. White Ombre as well as its Dovey brought down to low. A bird's eye view of the battle here now from the Cthulhu. He's able to just wipe away at them with impunity, but the Phoenix stands strong at the very least. Another good charge prey, but the Sumo Slam to match. You put me behind you right where I wanted. White Ombre goes down to Low Shack. Unfortunately, Firelink 5, despite seemingly going according to game plan, just couldn't manage the kills off it. Najab blinks in and decides to elicit the dash from the Agni and instead change targets to the Ganesha. What a beautiful switch of targets. Yokai collapses on him for the rampage. King Kerbis is brought down once again. The mire here from the Cthulhu could bring you down some more damage. Keek Cheek is taken out there by Gaio. The Titan might just be next. The Spirit Ball explodes right next to the head of its Dovey. Be a bit more paranoid about that. Cthulhu's quite low though. Rubberman gets that one kill, but the Titan is just an inevitability. Kappa Corporation, after absolute domination, take down the Titan to ruination.
You said it very well. Absolute domination. Firelink had some good points. There was that Fire Giant steal. There were a couple of fights that they played very, very well and kind of overextended themselves. So I think moving into this second game, Firelink need to play more aggressively on some fronts and kind of rein themselves in a little bit on others. I don't think the comp was terrible. Maybe we go away from the solo Beck, but outside of that, the comp itself was fine. Agni's very good, Anhur is good, Ganesh is good, Bats is good. I think it's more of a decision-making process that Firelink are going to need to look at moving into the second game.
I have to agree that a lot of the pieces of this comp are quite good. I actually think that the Sobek was making some good decisions, but just not on this comp is the issue. In a different context would be better. But we saw in that final Phoenix engagement 2 good plucks. But what did they result in? The first pluck brought the Cthulhu in the midst of all of the team. He immediately ults, gets good torment on everyone opposing him, and also some decent damage on his way out. Then what happened in the next pluck? He brings Gleroy right where Gleroy wants to be, behind him. Gleroy instantly, with brilliant tactile awareness, pushes him back into his own team, and it's White Hombre's own death. So you have to make sure that if you're going to play off this counterpunch, that your entire comp is suited to do so. If you're charging forth aggressively, you're going to find yourself alone on the front lines, and unfortunately, it resulted in the team's doom.
That it did. Like I said, they're going to have to rethink some things going into this game 2 here, and I don't know. I think their biggest issue was kind of the decision-making process, overextending themselves at points.
E-set's a problem,
we'll just have to see if they can clean it up.
I say we ban this E-set first thing in game 2, but only one way, Z10, to find out if that's indeed the result. Game 2 coming at you in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Animosity Smite Jotunheim Division Semifinals Game 2 here between the Kappa Corporation and Firelink 5, trying to unionize against them, but Kappa trying to bust that apart. I'm D'Lo, joined here by Z-Tan. Z-Man, how are we feeling after that game 1?
Well, I feel like to state the obvious, and we did in fact state the obvious. It was pretty much domination from Kappa Corp there. So as far as moving into the second game, I don't look to see Kappa Corporation change a singular thing. If it's working as well as that did, keep it, do it again if they let you, by all means. Now, moving over to the Firelink side, I wouldn't hate to see. We looked at those damage charts, right? And while ESET got a lot of kills and secured objectives, it's that Charybdis that was pumping out the damage.
Yep.
She was almost 15k ahead of the ESET, who was by no means doing little amounts of damage. I don't know. It feels bad to ban a Charybdis with all the other things that are like on the board, but you can't just give them that comp again.
There are, to be fair, other aspects we can ban that are more meta relevant. You mentioned the Cthulhu and how we're looking to solo lane.
Hey!
In fact, it's going to be the E set. Do we feel better about banning that god? Like you said, not quite in the heaviest rotation, but at least early games, she was quite a big problem.
She definitely was, and the other thing about it is like that secure and the zoning that circle of protection provides. In some cases, it's best to just don't deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, but ooh, you're gonna be dealing with that though.
Going back to the mascot.
I was about to say, you know what? I always love thematic consistency, like genuinely. So in that sense, I really respect Kappa continuing to go with this. But it's not just thematic consistency; it's performance consistency. This man was consistently burning beads with impunity. You step to me, you step even near me, I step to you. I'm gonna sumo slam you, you're gonna beads, and then I'm gonna kill you next time. It's just math. It's just math. But Thor gonna try to put the equation back on top with a nice global, semi-global ultimate, and then the equation being I wall you, I spin to win, and that's how we get the game going. What are our thoughts on that being the first prio pick for Firelink 5?
I think Thor is a very solid, very good all-around jungler right now. The itemization is pretty good for him. You're seeing most of these jungles building, something to the tune of Jotuns, brawlers, some flat pin. That does very well for Thor. And now we're looking at the Athena too, which Thor has that semi-global, and Athena has the full-on global, but these two picks alone, they give you the ability to put 60% of your team on any lane pretty damn quickly.
But is that enough when you have the Charybdis stepping back up? This man's a ceaseless whirlpool. And that's going to be an issue if they have a similar performance as before. Yokai was doing molly-whopping amounts of damage, and even on the defensive end was so slippery, you felt like you had to invest at least 3 ultimates just to kill the sucker. But, like you said, there's a lot of great things to be had here from a double dunk combo. Me, personally, I'm a big fan of double dipping, whether it be with my chips or with my characters here in Smite. So the ability to just ult someone with that Anvil of Dawn, instantly follow it up with that. Ooh, look at this, man. We're just globetrotting today. We're stepping.
I don't hate this at all. The safety that Charybdis provides, it's very good, but it only lasts so long. And I think Firelink have the option here between the Thor wall, the Athena taunt, to stage that CC. Now, Charybdis is still going to have beads, and I am by no means saying that you try and focus a Charybdis. But in the mid to late game, in the team fights, when you know that you have relics down or manage to pull them, having that kind of CC and global pressure give you a lot more options to fight into this than they had last time.
This is true, and you can make up for potentially a lack of damage, even with just you can really farm quite efficiently, even if you're trying to avoid scraps, just based on a lot of firepower that's been coming out from Kappa. You can be where they aren't and secure objectives like nobody's business. Put yourself in the place of where the team is not going to be killing you. It's simple as that. And also, if you are on that oppositional foot where you are in the offensively dominant position, you can make sure you can go anywhere. And maybe that's what Firelink 5 is trying to do here. There was quite a few cases where Kappa was able to escape with just slivers of health on that Cthulhu, on that Charybdis. Maybe they're just really trying to make sure no potential kill that can be secured gets away from them. Danzaburo has a similar MO.
I was half expecting a Chernabog. I'll
Why
be
not?
perfectly honest with you. Yeah, may as well. The Danzaburo is not bad. He's not Hachi and he's not on her, but he's solid. He is a solid hunter, relatively safe, and has that very long range ult, able to get in there. Maybe this is a comfort pick.
It also does, to be fair, go in with the idea of long range pursuit potential, but also long range escape potential that I do appreciate. But beyond this E-set, we are seeing a complete reset of this comp, and that is a chilling omen here for the Firelink 5. Because if Kappa 5 are able, or sorry, if Kappa 5, Kappa Corporation are able to replicate even a smidgen of that glory from game one, especially when you have the raw, I love the caveman combo. The question's going to be how they set it up. It seems the new bread and butter, they're literally going to be toasting their bread with the heat of the sun.
One of the oldest combos in the game, and
I'm a big fan.
It's a banger. Naja ult into a bird beam, and now we've got this Ratatasker, which means that either he or Thor is going solo. Now, it could be either. I would guess it's Thor. Maybe.
Maybe.
They can both do it. They can both play either role. In somewhat recent memory, Ratatasker was a top tier solo laner. I believe it was last year for a little while. Thor can also very much do the same. We'll have to see where exactly they're going to put these, but all I am seeing from Firelink here is just we can put our almost entire team anywhere on the map very, very fast.
Which I appreciate. I really like the wily play potential. There's a high skill ceiling that comes with these kind of teams, but I'm really hoping Firelink 5 can make it flashy. But on the reverse side, we have just about everyone, the returning stars, are back for their victory lap in this game too, and that's a scary thing in the case of if they're able to recapture what they were able to do. So what's Firelink 5's new means of shutting down Kappa Corporation before they can get that startup started?
Well, with this comp that you have drafted here out of Firelink, I'm not even going to go over Kappa. We watched an entire game of domination with this comp, but what Firelink have here is the capability to be aggressive. They can put that team anywhere they want it in a heartbeat. And I think to combat this Kappa Corporation draft, they're going to have to do that. They're going to have to take it to them. They are not going to want to play this game reactively again. We saw how that worked out. They need to play it proactively.
Yep. I have to agree with you there on that one, Z10, but only one way to see how it all shakes up. Game 2 coming at you in just a second. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Game 2 here. Kappa Corporation versus Firelink 5 semifinals on the line in the Jotunheim division. I'm D'Lo, once again joined here by Ztan and Z. We were talking about just the potential of Firelink 5 in their mobility. That's what they can play through. If I'm Firelink 5, where am I sending all 4 of my globally rotating members crashing down onto which member's head?
Well, the obvious answer is Ra.
Yes.
Now, Ra is very fast, but outside of that bird beam, he has no inherent CC immunity. He doesn't have a leap. He doesn't have a dash. Something that the rest of the members of Kappa Corporation have in spades.
Correct. But is the obvious answer then the best answer?
Well, that's an old philosophy called Occam's razor. The simplest solution is usually the best.
And might have that be put here.
That's where my money's at. If I'm looking for somebody to go on here, it is Ra.
We'll see if the Occam's razor slits the throat, maybe the too graphic there, of this chicken, but instead, Thor underneath the pressure from the sash. You don't need a razor, man. You just need a piece of cloth to really put the hurt on any opposing deity. Firelink 5 already feeling a bit of pressure here as Farm in the mid lane goes to the Kappa Corporation. Not how you quite want to see this early, and we were talking about the opposition of Firelink 5 and what they could potentially do in the solo lane. Why do we think the logic was to send the rat over there?
Well, honestly, I think it might come down to just comfort on the god itself versus the Thor. Oh, they might get him? No, not
This is
quite.
what- Wouldn't a Yanis ult be nice right about now? But at the very least, that means this is what I am saying though, that this ult, this team with all their ults in tow, that's not going to happen. And I'm hoping they're not going to let kills like that ever get away once we all start striking level 5. But it's a good attempt. I appreciate the effort. Unfortunately, the wall being used as soon as Charybdis entered that whirlpool form, it just seems like Yokai's got a third eye, always able to predict misfortune coming his way and always ready to meet it with that immune form.
Right. Yeah. Moving back for a second to this solo rat thing, I as I was saying, I think it's a comfort thing because both of the gods effectively do the same thing. They really do. They function very similarly. Their ults have similar range. They both kind of play the same way. So I'm not sure it really mattered who you slotted there. I think you just go for whichever your player is better with.
Very true. As far as what they can offer the team, that global rotation power, it definitely comes down a bit more to personal preference. And right now, Rat getting a bit deep in there might be in trouble as Cthulhu starting to take out divots of health. There's the rushing horror. Takes to the skies. We'll be able to get out quickly enough. Thank God there's no mannequins on this man, or that could have been trouble. We've seen what can happen with a nice dot to your name. Firelink 5, don't grace the kill boards of Kappa Corporation just yet.
Not quite, but almost. Rat did get out of there. He's got this bluestone. He's got this acorn. He's got the T1 of what I'm assuming may be a prophetic. Prophetic, maybe spirit robe. I don't know what solo laners build these days. It's my worst lane. Forgive me.
You will be pardoned for now, but the rat will also be pardoned at that attempt on their life. But the question is, will it happen again? Once that damage starts to get slotted in onto Loshak, you could be in trouble. But here, at the very least in the mid lane, Firelink 5 sporting a small advantage here, with Giannis taking a traipse to level 7 before the Rod does. If we can keep that up, we stand for some good damage here from this mid laner. Is that who we're playing through primarily on the side of the Firelink 5?
It absolutely could be. Charybdis is going this mannequin build again, and Danza has opted for the cowl, and we've got a Cthulhu ult, but I'm not sure he kills Rat here. Nah,
But look at how
surely not.
tiny and pathetic it looks. It's so sad. You're abusing this little happy tree friend. Leave him alone. He's got help in the form of the Athena, but at Defender of Olympus, the mitigations are useful, but maybe a bit too late to the party. Showing some face, just trying to say, oh, looks nice over here. Takes a quick picture, and an Athena returns back to the fountain for Cthulhu to continue abusing the rat once again.
Hey, look, Dalo, I don't know if we watched the same Happy Tree Friends, but I'm pretty sure it was all abuse.
That's true. Fair point. In that case, we're sticking to canon events here, trying to make sure things don't stray from the normal timeline. Indeed, Thor's going to assist with that potentially. We know what we can do with these sashes. Best be careful. 2 members strong. They storm into the tower. Nothing's safe for this little rat. Gonna have to take to the skies once again. It's actually not looking like Happy Tree Friends because I'm not seeing anyone's face be torn off their body. But a nice through space and time, just gonna maybe threaten the option of members rotating over and allow the rat to successfully retreat.
Yeah, Rat is having a rough time over here, and this is one of the reasons Cthulhu is so good right now. With the change to that Mire, the change to Conduit Gym, it's very hard to keep up with him in that lane. Uh, it just it is outside of playing another Guardian, the Cerberus, the Kuzenbo, something like that. In a lot of cases, you are just going to lose pressure to him, and it's something you're gonna have to deal with. Um, which the Rat pick, you're not playing it to dumpster the lane right now. You're playing it for its rotational ability. You are playing it for the mid game. You're playing it for these fights. Uh, he just needs to survive against Cthulhu. That's really all he needs to do here.
Very true point in that we're maybe just holding off for these rotations, maybe those beacon fights where that rat's mobility can really be put to good use. Now 6 minutes in here though, Firelink 5 standing their own. Not on the kill board yet, once again, but at this point in game 1, things were looking a bit worse for them. Kappa Corporation already had something on the board. Yeah, gold and XP go to their way, but it's really at this point peanuts of difference, and Rat loves peanuts anyway, so if anything, you're just doing him a favor. Nice beads elicited there from the Ra after a nice portal put underneath his feet, and that's something I also want to mention is that Agni versus the Giannis, we saw so many times those beads being very easily elicited from the mid laner thanks to that Kuzenbo. How does Giannis do in terms of keeping himself safe?
Well, Giannis has a CC immune ult, which immediately puts him in a better spot. Oh, we got a Thor ult though.
But is that in a good spot, my friend? A bit off the mark, puts down a wall for added panache, but the damage is really being put here on this Athena. Put in timeout, put down permanently. Bread, butter, toast. King Kerbis goes down, gives Geo the first blood. This is not a good start.
I feel like we've seen this before.
I can't imagine what you are possibly referring to, Z10. I've never seen anything of the sort. Never in my life of careers of casting Smite. But that was a very good kill. It's picture perfect. It's exactly what you want to see. What are Firelink 5 not doing properly to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Well, I think that starts with Thor landing what he was trying to do there. He wasn't far off the mark, but I think if he hits what he was aiming for, that probably goes a little differently. But him missing it on the engage, that just gave them time to come back in, counter engage, and they kind of got screwed for it. It happens. That's your big takeaway there for Firelink 5 is just don't do that again.
Yeah, gotta make sure those ults are on point. Thor lurking in that left side, trying to maybe grab yourself a sneaky blue buff, but maybe try to grab yourself instead a sneaky rat. Decent damage on the Cthulhu having to wander back, but who's wandering the backside? Thor gonna take this guy's a bit off the mark once again, my friend, but the damage is true. Rubberman gets down on Low Shack. That's a decent kill for the board, and Kuzenbo could be in a bit of trouble, and if they lose the team mascot, they lose everything. The taunt's there, but nothing quite to follow it up. We're too busy focusing our aggressions on that totem. Didn't you get the memo? Firelink 5 happy to take their kill and go home.
Hey, I watched Worlds. The importance of totem cannot be overstated. That was better. That was much better. When you asked me, I basically boiled that down to don't miss again. He nailed it. Cthulhu goes down. Game is evened back up
Yeah,
here.
definitely some
1,000 gold
improvement
differential. Yeah,
being
nothing wild.
done.
And Firelink are playing a little more aggressively, and this is what we need to see. This is what needs to happen. They need to be getting in there. They don't need to just be responding to Kappa Corporation all the time. And I'm loving these engages.
Yeah, hopefully going to see a bit more coming from Firelink 5 on that end, especially now that the Rat's up ahead. But who's coming to put him back down in the dirt? It's a Najan after a nice taunt back in, thanks to that Torment. Sash, a bit off the mark, playing a bit of chicken, but you're a squirrel, my friend. Stay in your lane. And indeed, Thor not going to do the same. He's going to take a traipse on over, help his semi-global ultimate brother in arms, the dash on in. But Jonas Attunement deciding not to port,
Uh-oh.
maybe not having quite enough confidence to be able to get much more damage off, takes to the Cosmos, the portal's off the mark, so is the Unstable Vortex. Will Thor be any different? He's deciding his options and opts to retreat back to the FG pit. Unfortunately, some abilities off the mark there might have cost Firelink 5 a couple kills.
It may have. At this phase in the game, Cthulhu's got a breastplate. He's working on, I'm assuming, a Glad Shield. Giannis being there definitely gives you the capability to kill him, but that is still a really hard god to kill. Now, the good news about all of this is we saw the aggression there. And we may be seeing some more of it, but nah, Thor's having no part of that. Good call. Uh, we're seeing some aggression come out from Firelink here, and what's more is like it's working.
But will it work on this Gold Fury engage? Being underneath the Solar Blessing is so useful. Restores everyone back to full health, but the real engage might be just here on his Athena. Kappa Corporation steal it away. Well, not steal it away. It was theirs to begin with a nice raw ultimate there. Royus Rocky gets decent damage there onto Thorus. Could be troublesome as to use Windfire Wheels. Yokai gets taken down there by White Ombre. That was the real target, they say. Taunted back into the midst of the spirits. Excellent CC chain. King Kerbis finally gets a kill on the board onto the opposition Gleroy. Stygian Beacon can be looked at next, but who's made a rotation on over? It's the Cthulhu. Getting a bit big for his britches, though. That's 5 members standing strong. Do you decide to enter this one? Has a Solar Blessing for a bit of forgiveness for any damage you might take, and there's some decent damage on the King Kerbis, but it might not be enough. Stepping up is Thor's, but now low. Thor's still able to get, though. Rubberman, how did that even happen? Standing from the wings, able to do something with it. Low-Shack decides to make a big show of it, but it's more shock and awe than any actual fight. Kappa Corporation managed to put another kill on the board, but even after the Gold Fury, Firelink 5 can still at least say they got some kills to their name.
Absolutely. Gold difference is now around 1,800, but for the first time in either of these games, Firelink is ahead in the kill department. It's not a lot, but this is as many kills almost as they got in the entire game in the first part of this. So this aggression is paying off. You have a rat that's a little bit ahead, and I think what you look to do here, we no longer care about this solo lane. I think you almost play this rat as just a second jungle at this point. Force it down on this mid lane. Constant rotations, pressure. You do not want to be giving up these objectives for free, especially not when you have a team that is so well suited to moving around the map.
I don't know if White Homer's got the message, man. He says, I do care about the soul lane. I will defend this tier 1 with my life, with teeth and nail, or with tooth and claw, in the case of this little rat. But here comes the rotation from the Athena Defender of Olympus. It's going to be matched there by the Maw Hungers. No taunt will get you out of that one. He's going to send a little bite right back at him, but here comes the cavalry. Big damage going to be dropped down onto King Kerbis, but able to tank and spank for just a little bit longer, and the Spirit's going to just taunt back in the Cthulhu, but the rotation from the opposition, Low-Shack, in a burst of blood and gore, King Kerbis falls. The rat having to use through the Cosmos just to escape for some safety after entering the fray. Firelink 5, unfortunately, see the kill board evened on them as the Athena takes a tumble.
Yeah, unfortunate for Athena there. They got the ult out of Charybdis. They didn't get the beads, but you got the whirlpool, you got the ult. I guess you just thought you were going to get it, keep pushing it, and you got rotated on. Sometimes you pay for aggression, but that doesn't mean that the plan has changed at all. Aggression is still the name of this game for Firelink.
It's being put on top of their head tops instead. Firelink 5 are being given some thorough instructions on how to play aggressive by my man Thor's here. A nice elicitation of the beads, but at the very least, Thor responding well with those to make sure that he was staying safe, because Kuzenbo was certainly there to ensure the opposite went down. At the very least now here, 3-3, 15 minutes in, Kappa Corporation only sporting a about 2,000 gold lead. It really could be so much worse here. What does Firelink 5 need to do that's pivotal in these fights? They know the strategy. Uh-oh. Might have to wait for that because the fight's beginning on the back end. But with only Ra able to secure much damage, and with only Kuzenbo being your CC present, not going to be the easiest to hit those linear abilities.
No, and one of the things about this Kappa Corporation comp, particularly this Kuzenbo, that it does kind of make it hard to engage. Kuzenbo can be such a nuisance to teams that are pushing in, and the displacement that he offers with that watery grave, with the sumo slam, with all of these abilities, even in the best of situations where you get this Thor ult off, you get this Rat ult in, you get in there, Kuzenbo can make it pretty much impossible to finish it. So I'd like to see Firelink kind of stage the engage, stage these ults in, and maybe use one to try and pull the watery grave out of the Kuzenbo, pull that peel away. And that's where I think they need to look here, is to just stage things, because using them all at once, you still have the potential there for Kuzenbo to just ruin your day.
Yeah, it's always existing. It's just a looming threat in the back of your mind you always got to watch out for. And in fact, look at him. He's always approaching from the side. He's so crafty. I'm loving the play from him, though. Beacon about to pop right back up, and you know what that means? It's all huddled underneath the loving rays of the sun. And that's not an aspect that we can overlook. The healing from this Raw is going to be significant as we see four big abilities drop with no result, but that's going to be a big explosion. But Aegis there, and Thor's able to get out with just a little bit of health as well. Don't you wish you had a Nuwa? Maybe that should have been the call instead. Thor's and Yokai both escaping with slivers. I hope the members of Kappa Corporation receive good medical benefits, because they need a good doctor after that one. But seeming like they are going to have that in spades. Here comes the engagement back onto the Whirlpool form. Charybdis going to knock up that Tons of Burrow. Could be in trouble underneath that tower. Will Athena secure it? No, not quite. The medical benefits are just too good. And White Ombre will finally manage to finish the kill. But what causes more members of Kappa Corporation rotate in? Have to imagine someone might be on the chopping block. But it seems that no, Firelink 5, despite a very drawn-out engagement, actually managed to sneak off with one kill.
Well, we see there why I mentioned, towards the picks and bans phase, that, like, you don't focus Charybdis. Out of all of that, they did kill her. She saved her beads. You still did not get beads with an Athena just face pressing you. You still did not pull beads from this guy. She's so hard to lock down. And Loshak got the better of Hombre, although it would appear with the help of Naja, and now Firelink are on this Oni.
I mean, could be something good for your name, but there's the secure of the kill, as well as the objective by the Kappa Corporation. They've undercut this unionization. Firelink 5 got busted, and now they gotta go retreating on back home before they too are sent packing. Unfortunately, Keek Jeek will join their brothers in arms. 3 members down now for Firelink 5. Kappa Corporation add a nice gold Fury on top of it. That's just the icing.
Icing, toppings. I think they got the cake written on a little bit there too, and now they're getting a pyro to go along with it. This gold lead is now extended. We're over the 3K territory. It's approaching 4. It's not unplayable yet. This is not disaster, but it's increasing. Now,
What do you think?
Firelink have
We
made a
approach Tahoe
much
territory?
not quite. We're not there yet. It could get that way in a hurry, but it's not there yet. Firelink still have the capability to fight here. Now, they are a little bit behind, and the kill on that Gold Fury didn't help. Otherwise, Rat's got a little bit of a lead still. Danza's not super far behind. Athena actually has a 2-level lead over this Kuzenbo, which I would amount mostly to just being able to be so many different places on the map faster than he can. The biggest deficit for Firelink right now is out of this jungle. And it's problematic. It certainly is. And Thor's now trying to stack this trans, which is a viable thing to do now that it's done through damage. But with this deficit, it's going to make engaging for him a little harder.
Indeed, and like you mentioned, this Rat might just be the pivotal hope, but you also mentioned the fact that we'd like to see him rotating a bit more. We've seen it a bit, but now returning back to the solo lane for a bit of a faux laning phase, that contribution's not being felt around the map. Should it necessarily be, you might be giving Cthulhu open space to just get back in the game, so it's a tough balance of deficits to make here, but the reality is Kappa Corporation without the Rat to fear are going to be in a dominant position for future fights. And this Charybdis has just been so frustrating to deal with. And in fact, Rat now going to be rotating indeed, hops from branch to branch, but maybe more so for his own safety. Going to maybe look for some potential engages here in the mid lane, but already having shown their cards, Kappa Corporation stand firm.
Yeah, I don't hate what Rat was doing there. He's level 19. He's almost to the point of being able to get this Bluestone upgrade, and that is such a huge power spike. I don't hate him going for that, especially when you're going to be the one doing the primary engage. You guys are a little bit behind. Getting that Bluestone online would be a huge boon for his team.
It's interesting you mentioned the fact that, yeah, he's going to be the primary engage in that case, which is interesting because you have so many means of setting that foot forward. It could come through space and time, through the wall. It could come through the Anvil of Dawn, but it does seem that through the Cosmos is going to be their first foot forward with potentially the Defender of Olympus to follow it. But the question is, will Rat live long enough for the Athena to arrive to the scene? Now, on the scene is the Cthulhu. Rat going to bring down that right tier 1 tower and retreat, a job well done. But the Stygian Beacon going to put damage on all the towers should Kappa secure it, and indeed they will. 22 minutes in, kill board reads 6-4, but it seems like Kappa Corporation is looking for more. Steps in underneath this tier 1 tower, it's going to go down without much trouble. Teleport not going to be able to come through quite in time. Instead going to be directed on this tier 2, but Kappa Corporation, happy with what they've gotten, retreat back to the jungle.
Yeah, now I did notice that Rat went for this corrupted Bluestone over the other, and so this one comes with an attack speed debuff, similar to what you would get through like old Witchblade, Midgardian Mail. Hang on, we got Thor in the air.
And we got the through space and time already used, puts decent damage on the members of Kappa Corporation, but not quite enough for them to stop on this Primal Fury engage. And the Kappa Corporation secure with a nice Searing Pain, but there's damage of plenty onto them. That Solar Blessing will not save you. You're going to need a lot more than hopes and prayers. Leroy goes down first with the Rubber Man through the Cosmos, puts decent damage here onto Cthulhu, and the Maw hungering, but might want to hunger for some escape and safety more than any damage. Here comes the turnaround, not going to be able to quite get it off just yet. Good threshold to slow members down, but King Kubris stepping up a bit too good for his own health. Thor's gonna take him down with the quickness. Up in the sky, drop back to the ground. The Rubber Man feels the Searing Pain without even needing the ultimate. That's some good bread and butter from the Kappa Corporation. Indeed, they're gonna continue to step up, but that ring toss a bit off the mark. Cthulhu here to bring some backup. White Ombre might need to settle down just a little bit. You have been dominating the solo lane, but this ain't that lane, my friend. We're in the jungle now, my territory. Low Shack lumbers on towards them, but Kappa Corporation overall make out with that fight in spades. They lost some members, but they did get the Fury and got some kills as well.
They got the Fury there, and we've talked about it several times now. I've mentioned it, and what that was from Firelink was an overextension. They they got a kill. They got something outside of that Fury. They got a little bit of a return for it, and then they pressed their luck. Uh, I feel like they have to remember at this point, and especially with this 25-minute mark, this is such a pivotal time for power spikes because Kappa Corporation are getting these starter items upgraded and online. They've got almost all of them. Firelink only have one, and these are significant power spikes. These Gem of Focus, Mannequins, Boomba's Hammer, these are real difference makers, and Firelink do not have any of them yet. So for them to get a kill there, that's good. You gotta win. Get out.
And you have the capability of doing it so with your escapability on these gods, but deciding to stick around for a bit too long. Hopefully Firelink 5 won't make that same mistake, but Athena already showing that might be a bit of hubris on your part. Going to be able to dash back to safety, but with some damage chunked out of her. The longer a fight goes on, it must be said, Kappa Corporation stands just so much more to win, not only from the itemization advantage, but that healing can absolutely pay dividends. You just ask everyone to gather around the good old campfire, and boom, we're back up to full. On zoning duty right now is Low Shack. That Fire Giant's been forgotten for just a little bit, but Athena certainly hasn't been. You're going to have the Unstable Vortex take a chunk there out of Thor's, but he's going to be just fine if another Solar Blessing comes up. The Searing Pain hits a bit wide there. King Kubri's underneath some more pressure, but doesn't hit any main squishy targets that you were maybe hoping for. Unstable Vortex off the mark. The portal comes afterward. A bit of our PEMDOTs getting mixed up there. Cosmos being used as well as the Anvil of Dawn, but it's just you, my friend. I don't know if that's enough. There's a big through space and time to put some damage on them, but will it be enough without the other members stepping up to the plate? Egg is having to be expended here by the members of Kappa Corporation who are in full retreat. Keek is already low as well, but through the Maw, he's able to escape the opposition. Yokai never punished on this Charybdis. Overall, it's somehow remaining bloodless, but with low mana, could be in trouble as the Kuzenbo. Once your team mascot goes, that could spell your doom. Firelink 5 stepping up here in a big way. It's a complete wipe of all their ultimates, but at the very least, they made a good showing for it. Kappa Corporation having to respect their show of force.
They did make a really good showing of it, and you mentioned it did cost them all of their ults, but what it didn't cost them was an FG. And if I've got to trade my ults to make sure that the other team doesn't get FG, that's fine. And to lose no one in the process, that's huge. They still don't have these starter items online, and they pulled off that defense without any of it at a huge disadvantage. That's big.
This could be big if they're able to take down this Cthulhu. Could be the start of something great. Keek takes him down indeed. Searing Pain to follow, lands on 2, but the damage has already been done. Kappa Corporation now, for the first time in a long time, facing a bit of a disadvantage in the Fire Giant pit. Not where you want to see it. 2 minutes before it becomes the EFG, but Firelink 5 with that 4 versus 5 power play might not want to be waiting any longer. Members going to have to retreat back to heal on up, but we know that they have the mobility to spare. The question is, who makes their first step? Going to see some Nene Kappa trick shots real quick, but I don't know if we should be playing fancy right now, my friend. A nice taunt. Going to force out that Watery Grave and some big damage. Athena responds back with their taunt of their own, but I'm not sure if that's going to be followed up quite too much. There's a big shell and a big uproarious rocket. Anvil of Dawn off the mark once again. But Wide Ombre provides the damage where it's needed. It's Dove takes down Thor's as well. The Maw hungers for some added safety. Where have we seen that before? Yokai gets out, but a nice 2 kills added to the board. Firelink 5 are bringing the heat.
They are bringing the heat. They are, more importantly, bringing signs of life. I mentioned it just a minute ago, and still, you look, and the only upgraded starter on their side is on this Rat. Now, I have to assume that they'll be backing soon with some of this golden hand, but they are winning these fights without it.
We're gonna win this one, though. This is where it's looking rough, and they had to back off because they weren't all grouped up properly. All you needed was the Raw there. I was incredibly preoccupied with Geo having that thing set up. But Pyromancer, at the very least, it's something for your pockets. They're at least a bit more full than they were before. Please go home, spend your gold appropriately. But that's a lot of them that just backed up. Only Rat and Thor to defend the pit at this point. I don't know what's Firelink 5's strategy to make sure that they can not only defend the FG, but secure it.
Well, they're getting back to it now. They backed. We now see a couple of these upgraded starters. We see a Gem of Focus. We see a Leader's Cowl on the Danza. And the thing about that Leader's Cowl, if you're in a fight and you outnumber the opposing team in that fight, that Leader's Cowl makes the people around you stronger. Now, it takes off stacks for the amount of enemy gods that are within range of you, but if they can get another of these fights where they get picks, where they get someone dead, it can start to slant the odds more so in your favor. And they need to keep doing exactly what they're doing. They're winning some of these fights. They're doing it right. They're just going to have to keep it up because they are still down about 3.5K. Which at this phase in the game isn't the biggest deal in the world. But it is something you do still have to keep in mind because the enemy team may have items online that you don't. You have to play the fights a little more carefully, but they just keep it up. And that's beads on Cthulhu.
We'll take that.
Oh.
It's a nice, easy relic for takeaway, but through space and time, going to be expended on the opposite end. Big ultimate that you don't quite want to see being used for anything non-securing. And Firelink 5 turning tail and running maybe a bit too easily, not wanting to put up a fight despite dropping that relic. Here's the Athena, though. Here comes the leader of the Phalanx, but to match it, there comes the Sash. Decent damage being put here on a Firelink 5, some good poke onto the frontline members. Portal gonna suck up the Kuzenbo and a nice unstable vortex to match. To the sky goes the Rat, to the sky goes the Thor, double dunk, big damage here. We're gonna go double dipping tonight, but instead we're gonna put Athena in timeout once again. Some decent damage here into King Curvis, but the rest are looking pretty healthy. Those health insurance policies better be paying dividends. Firelink 5 now needing their own because they have to dash on back. The damage from the Searing Pain as well as that Cthulhu are paying dividends on the front line as the mascot. Geo gonna follow it up with a nice with a nice one onto the Athena to finish the job. Firelink 5 now unfortunately on the back end, having lost one member. They can't quite stand up to the forces of Kappa Corporation as they knock down a tier 2 tower. It was looking good at first. Where did things start to turn bad?
Well, it once again a little bit of an overextension, a bit of an overcommitment. Rat, Thor, they got in there, but the DPS for Firelink 5 weren't in a position to follow it. They were being zoned out. Ra got off. Really, where that went wrong is a 3-man Searing Pain that Ra hit for 1100 a pop.
Yeah, don't even need that Naja ult to really secure it. But hey, Firelink 5 at least gonna get a nice beacon for their name. Something to ease the woes of your tower disadvantage. Whoa, calm down there, Gayo. You don't have an FG around. You don't know if that's gonna OHKO anyone. But Beacon's actually gonna knock down that tier 1 in the mid lane, so we'll take it. 33 minutes in, the EFG still stands. Pyro about to come right back up. Firelink 5 getting back into this like nothing happened, but they need to have learned their lesson from that prior engagement. Make sure that your damage dealers are positioned well for the inevitable engagement from this Rat Thor. I love the double dunk, but you need the Oreo after it. It's going to come in the form of this damage from its Dovey. But Pyro might be the first target of our aggressions. Firelink 5 going to start it up. Kuzenbo going to observe from the sidelines when he try to get a nice Nene Kappa trick shot, but the imposing taunt can prevent him from walking in. Firelink, get that Pyro.
They get the Pyro, and we're seeing the builds get filled out. Kappa's still a bit in the lead in that department, but it's so much better than it was. I think I would like to see Athena maybe finish this War Flag upgrade before we finish that Spectral, maybe? No, I don't see any. Well,
I think we just want to order the Athena staying alive, having to use that portal just for safety purposes. Excellent awareness there from its Dovey to bail out your support. Don't want to lose them so early in this coming fight, because last time that happened, they lost a tower for it. But we're also losing a Thorald. Rubber Man maybe getting a bit too antsy. They're grouped up, I understand, but again, like you said, they need to be in position for the follow-up to ensure a successful fight. Kappa Corporation might be taking that opportunity of members retreating back for health and ultimates being down to start on this EFG. Look who's on zoning duty. It's the front line. It's going to be an awfully difficult task to wad through them without taking some big numbers in return. EFG already dropped in less than a quarter. Searing Pain might be following it up, and Kappa Corporation grab it with ease. There's damage aplenty to be had on Ombre, who's just been stepping up for a bit too far for his own good. That's the rat gone. Cthulhu's going to step up and wad into 4. It's all easy pickings when you're the height of an absolute tyrant, just domineering on anyone in their way. The Maw hungers, but once again, going to go hungry. We're on an intermittent fast diet right now, but hopefully going to be eaten well soon. Kappa Corporation, look for this right tier 2.
They're looking for the right tier 2, and I'd say they're looking for this right Phoenix as well. They're definitely in position to take it. They've got EFG. It goes down pretty easy here.
Oh, Thor gonna crash down though on a 2. Good damage here, but the Whirlpool form before the double tap can be had. Beautiful evasion once again, never punished, except for Thor's. Does go down. You have one EFG off the board through space and time to try to snipe at Yokai, but unfortunately off the mark. Instead, we're going for Leroy, it seems. Gonna try to send him to his own watery grave, but grants himself a bit of space. Not much mana to be had. A good taunt will finish the job. Keek Cheek gets credit for that one. 2 to even the board, 10 to 10, but the right bird's been had. That was the real target for Kappa Corporation.
They did get the right bird, and while it is kind of the least important bird, so this is a good spot for Firelink 5, and they got 2 kills off of that nonetheless. So you got 2 kills off the back end. Now Yokai still has this EFG, so the tower damage is still there. He's still got it, going to have it for about another 2 minutes, and Kappa are still in a position to push down this left tower and maybe look for this left bird, but Firelink are positioning like they have no problem in the world with engaging right now.
I appreciate that moxie, but it's got to come with tempered awareness and consciousness of what you're able to do. We're investing a lot in killing this Charybdis, and yeah, we've gotten her 2 times, but at what cost sometimes? It's really come at a high price when we're expending so many abilities and so much focus on targets that are just inherently so much more difficult to kill. We've seen it so many times how stingy the Charybdis is with the beads, recognizing the natural tools that Kit provides you before you're able to actually use that relic as a last-ditch option. Kappa Corporation have juicier targets. Firelink 5 to make sure to flambe them up first.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. It's possible to kill this Charybdis, but you have to commit so much to actually do it. And in so many cases, that turns into an overextension or an overcommitment. I don't think Charybdis can be your outright target here. I think it needs to be Ra.
Yeah, in fact, you mentioned that at the desk, or maybe in the first few minutes of the game, that we are expecting to see this double dunk combo fall on top of the head of Gaio. I mean, such a threat in game 1, but now taking the skies, Thor might be trying to do just that. Let's have to find out. We get a nice bird's eye view. Instead, drops in the Cthulhu. Ra standing nice and safe, free to cast to the back. We're looking for this Charybdis once again. Maybe the 7th time's the charm. Not quite. Yokai has the ultimate available. Never gonna be punished for that one if you have it in pocket. The Maw hungers, but just for a bit of space and safety. Stay out of my personal bubble. Thor's could be in a bit of trouble here. Throws back a rebellious ring. Ooh, the unstable vortex off the mark there. Could be troublesome. Searing pain as well. But they're going to dedicate for this one. At the very least, try to find one kill. It's Dovey. Swipes away at Thor's. There goes one for the killing spree, but Athena might be at the cost of it. Nice dash, get herself to safety, and now Gleroy, look who's overextending. Kappa Corporation realizing how it feels. Firelink 5, put 2 on the board.
The same 2 as they got on that Phoenix defense, I might add. Once again, they got the Kuzenbo and they got the Naja, which Kuzenbo almost to be expected at this point. He's going in there, he's throwing CC, he's displacing, he's making sure that his important DPS get out. Good play from Kuzenbo there. Now, the next question, we have EFG coming up. There's still 20 seconds that Thorson and Gleroy are down. I mean, you have to pull this.
And indeed they shall, but who's stepping up? It's Geo with the ult in pocket. They need to burn this, they need to burn it quick, but Loshak is standing there unimpeded. They're not looking to zone, they're just looking to burn the objective as quickly as possible. Now we're looking for Geo. We've learned our lesson, and Firelink 5 respond by getting the EFG and getting a kill on a Yokai, despite the rat not being focused on it. Look how that just nicely falls in your pocket. Cthulhu just gonna be a nice sideshow for entertainment, a lot of spectacle and flash, but will he go down? The raid boss brought down low by It's Dovey. On the rampage is the Giannis. Firelink 5 step up with a nice few kills and an EFG snugly wrapped around their belts.
That was a great call from Firelink there to pull that EFG, and an even better zoning job by Hombre. That was spectacular.
Might be looking now to even up the bird board, but could be in some trouble here. They still have members to put on defense. Thor's gonna unfortunately miss the windfire wheels there just by a hair onto the king. He says, "You dare challenge me?" Gleroy gonna be put into a bit of a tough spot from that one. Nice portal there to keep him in a rough one, but a big divine slight just to put more damage on the members approaching. It's Dovey gets 1 kill. White Ombre though gonna fall in turn. They're looking their hands for this Titan call, but Geo with the searing pain not gonna let it happen. A double. He's gonna look for more. Triple there onto It's Dovey. It's a defense. It's an absolute massacre. It's a reversal. Firelink 5 won't have their fun this time.
Geo just hit that Uno reverse hard. That looked almost exclusively like it was about to be a Firelink end, and oh my. Oh.
And it might just be the end of the game instead. King Kerbis stomped out by Yokai as he returns to the battlefield. Firelink 5 had their embers burn brightly, but they were stamped out by one flaming chicken. Unfortunately, Titan will be dropped down once again. Kappa Corp stand on top. They bust the Union. They move to finals.
That was one of the best Titan defenses I've seen in a very long time. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Great job from Geo there. If I've got to pick an MVP, that play immediately runs it to him. Beautiful. Firelink played such a good game. They played so much better in that second, and I mean they were seconds away from ending it and sending it to a game 3. Just beautifully done.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, it seems that their target bans were placed on the wrong player, on the correct player, because by God, it doesn't matter what this guy is playing. If he's got a big caveman ult to drop after a Naja follow-up, or just raw, literally raw, because he was paying dividends. Healing, damage. Talk to me about what this team was doing right.
They were doing a lot of things right, and we saw it in that first game, just utter dominance. Now, in this second game, really what that came down to was Gaio. Gaio on this Titan defense saved his team the game and sent them to finals. It was a brilliant defense. Uh, Firelink, they came so close, and
Yeah.
Gaio and the boys denied it.
Yeah. Gaio and the Boys should be the new team name. Kappa Corporation has been usurped. It's now going to be the Raw Enterprises because, by gosh, that was a beautiful showing of how to properly orchestrate a good Titan defense. They didn't decide to hang their heads when the chips fell. Instead, they decided to shove all in, and then they put the car into automatic and drove. And that's how you do it. But Firelink 5 definitely have some great things, some great notes to take from that game into their third place potential winnings. So good luck to them and fantastic play to them as well. Kappa, excellent work. We'll see you at the finals. But that being said, that's all we have here for you today at Animosity Smite, Jotunheim Division semifinals between Kappa Corporation and the Firelink 5. I've been D'Lo. Joined here by Z-Tan, we had our all-friend Cabbage, Almighty Eye in the Sky, our cam operator, helping us out there with those amazing POV shots as Cthulhu just dominated the battlefield. Please drop some thanks for our production. He's been incredibly helpful. And thank you, lovely viewer at home, for deciding to take some time to watch us here. More content coming at you in the future, so keep an eye to the sky for that. And thank you very much. We hope you have a good one.